So Leadership Now, what it is, back, it's been about 2.5 months ago now. Eric and I were looking at something that we had talked about for almost 2 years, was how do we create connection within and build a community of like-minded people. And we've always wanted to interview people, get their message out, get their ideas, and help other people connect with tools, inspiration, thought leaders, of normal people, right? A lot of times you see people who are in the industry who are bigwigs, but we want people who are just like us. What are they doing? What are some of the things that they're going through? And how does it connect to us to give us, like I said, tools, thoughts, inspiration? So that's where Leadership Now came from. If you've missed any of our previous Leadership Now series, you can go to drivenleadership.com. You will find a link to our YouTube page, and you can watch all of the full interviews. They're also broken into small segments. So that's kind of fun. You can pull little tidbits of inspiration throughout the day. Next week, we go back at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we will have Bridget Austin. And Bridget Austin is such a badass. When I say she's a badass, she is. She is a retired U.S. Navy combat veteran. And she also is the CEO of Be Austin Consulting, where she works with veterans, members of the service who are transitioning, and also people from the LGBT community. And she gives them tips and tools, skills, and leadership moments through her consulting business. So she's going to talk about what does authenticity and balance look like in this new norm. So you don't want to miss Bridget, because I think we can all relate to some of what she's going to share. So today we have Paul Kuiper, and I am so excited to have Paul. Many of you know Paul who are on this. Some of you might not. We have known Paul, 2013?
14.
Yeah. I remember there was a guy from Daikin who went through Bold, and he comes out and he goes, "You have to talk to Paul Kuiper." He goes, "He'd be just fantastic. He's the new general manager for this company. I called you up. You were getting married like the next month, and you said, I want in, sign me up for November." And you came to that November class. I remember just hungry, just eating up just information and knowledge. And we got to go into the company. And what I love about you, and just watching this transition, which goes perfectly into your topic, is that you have a heart to serve. You have a heart to lift people up, to help them become their absolute best and create teams. And I'll never forget that company. You literally tore down walls and created like a bullpen, and the energy and the excitement just flowed. And so before we jump into your topic, just give us a little history of who you are, what got you into HVAC, and we'll let you run with that.
Sure. Yeah. So, I grew up in Michigan and never once anticipated being in HVAC. I'm not mechanical at all. I was always going to be a coach or a teacher, something like that, go to college, find my way, just like everyone that I knew was going to college, get a degree, do a job like that. But college and I didn't jive. I dropped out basically right away after a semester. It just didn't survive at college, and spent a couple of years just working. And answered a random call from a friend who needed help at a HVAC company. And that was, holy smokes, 2002. So I started as a dispatcher, and it was just a wild ride. Saw an opportunity to grow there, and took it and just rode with it. And it's kind of been that ever since. I don't know how to fix an air conditioner. I don't know how to install one. It has always been on the inside of just kind of understanding, gathering information from a process standpoint, and then building that out with people and personnel and putting people in the right spot. That has always served me well in different positions. I've managed every department within a HVAC company, installation, service, sales, all operations, et cetera. And it's become a real passion of mine to see this industry as my opportunity to do exactly what I thought I was always going to do, which was teach and coach. It's just in a totally different place where they're not put right in front of me with something that I knew. I had to learn it and really go through the the struggles and the kind of, I cut my teeth really hard for a long time to understand the industry and understand the people that are in it and the people that we want in it. And recruiting and getting folks excited about heating and cooling is not an easy thing to do. And that's really kind of become my life, and continuing on. I'm so excited about what the industry could actually bring moving forward. So it's brought me to, Chicago, Phoenix, Denver, and Southern California in almost 20 years. And in Phoenix, I met my wife there, and we've been married for 6 years. This coming October, right? It was actually right before Bold. It was a month. So we got married in October, went to Bold in November of that year. And she had a daughter that I've since adopted, Kaylin, who's 12. And then Wyatt is 4 and Boone is 10 months. And we moved back to Michigan. I found Adam at RX very randomly and by happenstance, and just been kind of working every day to take a company that had 2 employees and build it up to something really special in this, is my home back in West Michigan.
Wow. And you have a farm. You're living.
So that's, when so we were in Phoenix, and we were thinking about where we actually wanted to live. And this house that we had seen a couple years prior in West Michigan kept sticking out and went back on the market, and it was just perfect timing. We said, you know what, let's do it. So without a job, without any sort of real job prospects, anything, we just worked on getting the house and moving across the country again with a newborn. Our son was born in August and we moved in September. And that was the reason, though. We wanted to farm. We wanted some self-sustainability, learn more about that, and then also be able to teach that to people, and never really as a business, but more as just kind of knowing where food comes from and starting with us. We're now in the stage of figuring out how to raise animals, how to process them, and be super humane and figure it out on our own. And then we'll probably take the next step into doing it more for other people and selling them and having a little operation. So it's been very interesting to manage that, as well as trying to really aggressively grow a small HVAC company. It's been cool.
It's listening to just your segue in your introduction of who you are and what you're doing. And your topic is embracing the struggle. We talked about this. You're like, every Leadership Now series, at the end feedback, I'll say, who wants to be a speaker? Let me know. I'll put you on the list. And your hand kept coming up every single time. It's like, I'll be. So when I said, Paul, I'd love for you to be a speaker, and you said, great, and here's the day. And then I said, what's your topic? And then it was just crickets. It was like literally crickets. Yeah. And I said, Paul, I need your topic by tomorrow because I'm promoting it. And it was crickets, crickets, crickets. And it became truly what I believe so many people deal with. And it ended up being embracing the struggle. And how do you push past the imposter syndrome? Because in our struggles, a lot of times when we fall down, we get back up. When we fall down, we get back up. There's something in our brains that go, oh, are you really going to do it? Sometimes we look at things as failure. So who are you to start something new? Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about this morning as I was getting ready to bring you on, and the study that talks about our brain and how many thoughts we think a day. I've heard studies from 35,000 up to 70,000. I've heard that it's anywhere between 80 to 85% of the thoughts that we think are negative. Yeah. We are designed to think negative thoughts. So whatever the number is, I know everyone's different. What it's showing is that we have such a thought process that it's constant, it's nonstop, and we're thinking negative thoughts. And so if our first reaction is, oh, you failed there, look at you again, look at your track record. And then it's just like, you know what, screw it, let's just do it, and I'm going to get up and I'm going to go to Michigan and I'm going to go buy my house. Where does the imposter syndrome right now, how is that impacting you? Does it show up in your brain?
Yeah, it's a daily struggle. It really is. It's one of those things where it takes so long to even create the awareness. And that's one of the things that I love so much about just being in the types of immersion classes that you guys do, and just having that different mindset to be aware of these things are going to happen, and then how am I going to attack them, as opposed to just kind of becoming a victim of the inevitable that's coming your way, where it's creating a different mindset, but it's still work. Yeah, I am absolutely horrible at maintaining positive thoughts and feelings in my brain, attacking anything. And it's brought me down to my core. It's brought me to my knees of just almost dismantling myself out of very successful places, relationships, opportunities where, I have the ability, it's been seen. I have the way to find an opportunity and really take advantage of an opportunity and make it something into something special. But somewhere along the way, I'm always thinking back about how I might derail it because, when I was in college, I dropped out, or because of, my first job, I did a bad thing on a machine and cut my finger off. And so that, just something's going to happen that's going to derail me. And and then the next one, it's because of these things, I don't have a message, or I don't have a positive reinforcement. And learning to actually gain that positive reinforcement from myself has really put me in the place that I'm in right now, because I still have the feelings of, even leading up to this, right? I don't have anything to offer. I'm not a, super successful CEO, or I'm not a coach of a Division I program, or I'm not a this or that or whatever. It's never about, well, this is what I have done, and that's pretty cool too. And it's led me into this place where, man, I am now thinking so much less about what if this happens on the negative end, and so much more about what could happen. But that's a every single day thing. If I don't do it, I'm already derailing myself into those feelings. And that's something that then trickles down into, when you're leading an organization, and especially trying to change one, grow one, et cetera, there's just no place for that within the people that are working with you. It's got to always be positive, even if, it's like the duck, I call them on top and just legs swimming like crazy underneath. It's just, it's that, if I'm worried about this person builder paying us enough to make the next payroll, like that can't show. And my brain has always been in line with just worried. Is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? Because it hasn't happened before, or because I failed before. But the work that I'm doing now, and that is just creating so much immediate benefit emotionally, is, but what if it does happen? And the experiences that I've had before in very successful companies is the result of the, what if it does happen? It can happen. It can be wonderful. It can provide a really, really, really neat organization for people to work at, or live through, or serve through. And just looking at that has really gained a lot of traction just overall with how we want to start building a foundation for the company that we're building now. But man, it's work. Like, it's every day. And if I don't do it every day, it shows up everywhere. It shows up absolutely everywhere.
You go back into that study, and knowing our brains are wired, we can retrain our brain. There's that saying, change your thoughts, change your life. Change your brain, change your life. And we have to be aware of the thoughts that we think. And we all face it at some point or another in life. There's something, because underneath the hood, I believe it's fear of not being good enough, fear of, oh my gosh, what happens if they find out I don't have a college degree? And you, right, as COO, you are teaching leadership and development and building a team with not even knowing how to work on an air conditioning unit.
Yeah.
And so then it's like, well, who am I to teach? And, it reminds me of that Marianne Williamson poem that talks, our greatest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light. It is our light that inspires people, right? We all have it, but some of us think, well, we're not. Like, who am I? But I believe we all have a message. And there's a saying that your setback has set you up for your comeback.
Mm.
And it's going, okay, wait a minute. It's the growth mindset that Angie Larkin talked about last week. We have a growth mindset. We have a fixed mindset. Which one are we going to choose? Are we going to embrace the struggle? Or look at the struggle going, man, see, it's just another notch that I'm not good enough. See, you're a fail. Whatever the self-talk is, and we have to figure out how to discover so that we can move forward.
Yeah.
So what I love for you, just to tell me, Paul,
Sure.
What are 2 good things about you?
Well, I think that I am always seeking to create a middle ground. And that's been huge now. I mean, there's just so many polarizing figures and attitudes and opinions, but I have always had the ability to take 2 people and sit them in a conference room just like this and hash through things with reason and without emotion. And double-edged sword, right? Like my wife is always telling me I'm not emotional enough, but in those cases, it really helps me out to not have emotion in that type of a situation, to just create in team building the ability to be teammates without having to be friends. I've always been pretty good at that. And I'm good at having a positive outward outlook. I'm good at still being very, I feel, approachable, able to talk to somebody, be there for them in a leadership position where, showing true empathy and wanting to care about who they are, what they want to achieve, and building a path into that. That's something that I'm passionate about and good at. And even, it's crazy that we're having, like, even in this conversation right now, I'm thinking about the ways that I've failed people instead of the ways that I've helped them. Even having that affirmation of people, years later that say, yeah, I mean, I remember this one conversation we had, and it really built this foundational block for me to get to, from just being this person to getting into a leadership position, or saying, you know what, I don't want that position. I'm very happy here and I'm going to make the most of that. And I'm actually finding some passion within what I'm already doing, and just having that reality. I get those affirmations, but all I can think about is the ones that I missed or didn't do well enough, or might be kind of swimming in it. But I think that also talks to just how passionate I am about, like, wanting to help everybody. I've been called a bleeding heart, and that's tough in management, like it's like hard to cut those cords. Sometimes in raw business decisions of having to let people go. But I really feel like I'm good at taking somebody and finding for them their best fit, to be very happy in what they're doing, and making it so that the money side of things isn't really the driver. It's, are you happy doing what you're doing? If you're not, why are you doing it? Stop being stupid. And that, even from as a manager, if I'm managing them directly, that's something that I've been able to do, even if they leave the next day and it's the best thing for them. I don't have any, real manipulation in that. I truly want what they desire, which is typically happiness for themselves in a balanced life, and try to achieve that for them.
Isn't it amazing how you can see so clearly to help other people?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
For yourself. And human nature, we're like that. We can absolutely see someone else and we're like, oh my gosh, if they did this, this, and this, and this, and we can set them up. And if we saw them in whatever our fear is, whatever our self-talk is, we know how to get them out of it. Yeah. But when it comes to us, there is this underlying message, and a lot of it, studies show that it comes from our upbringing. And I know that our parents do the absolute best that they can with the tools that they have. But something along the way hits our beliefs, it hits something, and we attach meaning to it. There's, and I know you saw this video, and I'm just going to remind, because every time I see the video, I just go, that's it. And it's Dr. Todd Kashdan, and he did a TED Talk, and it was the mad scientist. And he talks about separating yourself from that ugly thought. We all have those thoughts. I am. And he does this exercise where you just go, I am. So I'm an imposter, whatever that looks like. And you sit with that, you let it just marinate, and you feel it for like 10 seconds. And then you change it and you go, I'm thinking I am an imposter. And you just kind of sit with that for like 5 seconds. And then the next step is, I notice I'm thinking I am. And when you do that exercise, it disconnects, it disattaches the thought from the thinker. And you get curious. And it's, the thoughts that we have, it's not right or wrong, good or bad. They're thoughts, they're there. It's what we do with them. And when you just go, thank you for that thought. I notice that I'm thinking this. Okay, so who am I? And when you can now change it to, I'm a great problem solver. I have a bleeding heart, but I can sit down in my conference room and I can have a conversation and I can create solutions. When you do that alone, and that's for anyone listening, that is such a powerful tool.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love when I asked you right away, so what are the 2 good things about you? And you're like, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden it's just like, but.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally. Yep.
So there's a saying, the but negates what we just said, and it takes it away. So if you look at the and, so I'm this, and I notice that I'm thinking the thought that I let people down. Okay. So what now? So what's your greatest lesson?
It's 2 things, and it's kind of internal and external. The greatest lesson that I've learned thus far, specifically to this, and it's kind of everything, because it does drive just the how far you can go. Because if you're going to hold yourself back, you can't go farther, right? But so with that, internally, the greatest lesson is to create, to not make an excuse. To when you have the knowledge that this is the way you are naturally or predominantly or whatever, maybe we all are, there's no excuse as to why you're not working on finding the time to recreate your mentality, whether it's before you go to bed at night, middle of the day, in the morning. The greatest lesson is that there's just no excuses, so like there's so many different ways to know that and approach that. And, with working out or being a grinder or working all the time or just driving yourself to, like, there's a lot of that stuff, no excuses, no days off, but there's just no excuse to not work on finding that positive place to come from for yourself. If you know that is the biggest thing that can keep you from actually experiencing what it is you're after in the first place, and you're sabotaging yourself, and that, work on it. Make sure that doesn't happen. But externally, a great lesson as well is just how to serve others in it, because a lot of times folks like me are very introverted too, so you'd never know it. I got the best poker face ever. You never know what's going on the inside. And, Adam said to me the other day, just in a text, it was just very simple, but it was, I just can't tell you enough how much you mean to me and how happy you've made me in this business because of what you're doing. And that'll go a year. Like, just that one affirmation from one person saying, hey, you are doing a good job. From the outside in, I don't need much of it, but that one is super important. So for me, around people, giving that affirmation is huge. That's a huge lesson, is to make sure people around you know that you do see them now and don't really care about I honestly, like, even in interview processes, sometimes I don't even look at resumes anymore. I don't care. I don't care about what you've done. I want to know about who you are now, and I want to know what you're going to do to make yourself successful within this business. I'm going to tell you it's not going to be easy. I'm going to call you out on all the nonsense, and we're going to work on this together. And if you want this opportunity, let's go. Like, I don't care what kind of experience do you have, because that was me. I had no experience. A little elbow grease, a little passion can make a lot of things go. The right leadership, boom. So that's a huge lesson for me, is just not allowing thoughts about my imposter syndrome affect how I see someone else and what they've done, either.
So what a powerful lesson. I don't care what you have done. What are you doing today? Where do you want to go?
Right.
And that alone, what a powerful lesson for all of us, but even for ourselves. And to overcome those sabotagers when you have that little voice going, me, I don't care. That's what grace and second chances are for. We all deserve them. And if we can teach people that, man, and talk about hope and everything that we're going through now in life, and it's just what a beautiful example to get back up, to know that we can move forward. Our mess becomes our message.
Every time.
So I'm going to actually open this up. Just if people have questions for Paul, and I said I'd love to bring you in. So if you have a question, would you there's a Q&A, just put, I have a question, and I'll bring you in, or you can put it in the chat bar as well. Someone said I'm in a conference call. She's going to check it out later. And as that's happening, I just wanted to ask you, so if Caitlin or Wyatt or Boone were sitting in your chair saying, I'm struggling, Dad, I feel like, the struggle is so bad and I've made mistakes. I have this opportunity and I'm just sabotaging myself. What would you say to them?
Oh man. So with my kids, first I would tell them how much I love them and that the most important thing they can do is just go for it. And that whatever happens, it's okay. It doesn't derail or change or do anything to suggest that what you just said you wanted, no matter the struggle, can happen. Just go for it. Just let go of whatever is telling you I'm hurt, or this is going to hurt, or I can't, and just trust that if you go for it, I or someone around you will pick you up if you do fall, and will probably love you more for it. There's going to be so much regret if you don't find your way through the struggle and come out on the other side, because on the other side, another struggle is waiting for you. And the only reason you went through this one was so that you could have the power and the depth and the understanding to get through the next one. So you can't do anything unless you just start. Just go. Just do it. And I'll be here every step of the way.
So the next time that little lie shows up, I want you to picture you're sitting with your 3 children, but there's also little Paul sitting there. Mm-hmm. And we get to be our biggest cheerleader. And it's like, you know what? It's okay. Because in order to move forward, who's the most important person that you need to love?
Myself. Yeah.
But it's all of us, right? This is a topic, it's from top down. It doesn't matter. And I believe that we all need a wake-up call going, wait a minute. Am I loving myself today? If I'm beating myself up, put yourself in a little child's shoes. If it's your own kid or someone that you can relate to, going, what advice would I give to them? Well, guess what? That's the advice you get to give to yourself.
Yeah. All right. Questions?
I have a question here. What moment in your professional life has most defined who you are today?
Oh, man. That's a good question. In my professional life, it's an interesting way to view it, because I've done so much more since. But after 8 years in Chicago, kind of, that was part of this imposter syndrome. I was very successful, I was managing managers and in a company of 500 people. But I was 30, and I couldn't feel the success. I didn't think I deserved it. I just kind of bottomed out, honestly. And because part of that was just because I didn't know how to handle that at that time. Everything was coming at me. I could have done anything I wanted. financially and otherwise. But that is what defines me today, because it didn't come easy. I worked really, really hard to get there, but I took for granted how that company had been built and up until that point, and how hard those people had worked to get it to the place where I started and took it to the next level, or helped take it to the next level. And, now in my professional life and how that defines me is it gives me perspective. It gives me so much perspective in the day-to-day to never take what you have for granted. I don't regret leaving. It was intense. And it was kind of a mutual thing. But man, I took it for granted. And I just don't take things for granted anymore. And being back in a place where I can build something from the ground up, I have that with me every single day, whether it's in business or in what we're building at home with a family and a farm. Is just, none of this success is to be taken for granted, but don't fear it. Go get it, but don't take it for granted.
Powerful. All right, I have Elisa Slagle wants to come on.
Oh.
She has a question for you, so I'm going to promote you to a panelist. So Lisa, put on your mic and then also share your camera.
Hi.
Hello. How's it going?
You knew my big mouth was coming on, Paul.
I figured.
Right, share your camera.
Oh, how do I do that? Oh,
press the button. There you go.
Hi. I have my son here with me. Say hi. Hello. I don't really have a question. I just find it so interesting that you have doubts. It makes me feel good that you're human, because you're thousands of miles away and we don't work together anymore, but I still come to you constantly for reassurance and advice and direction. And it's just odd to me that you don't see what other people see. Like, I'm literally in the position that I'm in because of your direction, because you have this awesome, outstanding ability to see people different than how they see them, or how typical employers look at their employees. And you just push people and push. And even when it's annoying, you still push. And and then it ends up just being awesome, even when people are questioning what you're doing. And I just so appreciate that, because I've had nothing but growth in my career since 2014 because of your pushing and your awesome leadership abilities. So, you always get 2 thumbs up from me, always.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I wish that you would move back here so that we could do awesome stuff. But I just want to say that if you ever question that, call me, there's hundreds of people I know that you've touched. It's cool. I don't know how you do it. It's just a cool ability to have.
That's awesome.
So you actually just said, I don't know how you do it. That's how you do it. You constantly doubt yourself, so you have to push yourself harder and harder and harder, and that's the result. But hearing you say that is super validating, and I really appreciate you coming on to tell me that very much.
Thanks, Elisa.
You're welcome. Bye, guys.
Bye. All right, so Kay has a question for you.
Oh, man.
I got to make sure that you're back here. So I'm not sure if she wants to go live. I'm going to bring her in. She's pretty bold.
The boldest.
She is. So bear with us. Meredith, I don't know if you can hear us. She's not coming on. So I'll ask it. Have you ever learned any lessons from your children? Oh, she wants to go live. So Meredith, I don't know. I'm going to do this here because I want you guys to see his daughter. She is amazing. Here she comes. Hey.
Okay.
Hello. I was just wondering if you have learned any lessons from me and Wyatt. Hi.
Hi, buddy.
Hey. Oh my goodness. So, I don't think it's too big of a thing to say, Kay, that most of my lessons are learned from you and Wyatt. It's not whether or not I've learned any lessons from my kids. It's, what ones can I describe? The biggest thing that I've learned is that, people, it just affirms what I was learning when I was younger before I had children, that you guys need so much positive reinforcement because you're just like me with always doubting what we're capable of. But everybody I've ever met tells me how amazing my children are. And the lesson I've learned is to really focus on making sure that I think that, and that plays into other people in my life as well. That because it's so important to make sure my kids know that, I remember that it's important for other people to know that too, because they're not hearing it enough. And a lot of times, especially when you're kids, they hardly ever hear it because don't do that. You did that wrong. You spilled that. Wyatt, you're interrupting. Wyatt, you're doing this. Wyatt, you're doing that. But in the end, it's about really seeing you guys for who you are and loving you to death to make sure you're the most caring, kind, loving people you can be. And that's not just kids, that's everybody around us. So that's a lesson that I've learned from you guys specifically.
That's powerful. Thanks for coming on and asking
Okay.
it.
Bye.
Love you guys.
All right, Keith has a question for you as
man.
well.
Okay.
Let's see here. And I love, as he's coming on, Angie said, if you don't go for it, it's the same result as going for it and it not happening. So at least if you go for it, you have a 50-50 chance. If you don't, there's a 0 chance, right?
Yeah, there you go, Angie. Thank you. Love that.
Hey, Keith.
Hi, Mary. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm out in the field today.
Nice.
So it's a good day. So my question for you, Paulie, and you know that I love you too. I think it's been phenomenal what you've done for RX and how you've helped Adam and I take this company from what was a great vision into what is a grand vision, and really helping us realize what our shortcomings were and how we could work through those. And what you said earlier about how you can sit in a room and you have the ability to sit there unbiasedly and without emotion and just separate that and take two people in a room that are constantly butting heads, because Adam and I are two very, very, very strong personalities, but you're the calm in the storm. And to be able to do that for us has been pivotal. So leading into my question, you've already addressed some of these things, but as somebody who also deals with words of affirmation, that's definitely one of my love languages. I noticed that in the absence of that, it's very easy to get into a dark place and say, what am I doing here? Is what I'm doing enough? Am I on the right path? Do I love my work anymore? Should I be doing something else? Am I wasting my time? And what I find a lot of times is that self-doubt is exactly that. It's doubt. And it's not necessarily true. So what would your advice be to someone like myself or people like me that struggle when you don't get that words of affirmation from your boss, your coworker, your business partners, your spouse, but you're trying to stay bold. You're trying to be a champion. You're trying to move forward in life and be all in. But that one missing piece that kind of sets you over the top, like you said, when Adam gave you that feedback, you're good for a year. I'm the same way. But when I don't get that, it's really hard to stay positive. So what would your advice be for some of that, self-diagnosis and things that we could do to try to help us get through those times?
Yeah, the only way that I honestly almost survive when it's lacking, because I'm the same way, is the lack of that affirmation just creates that nasty cycle going right back to, now I'm not worth certain things, or I'm not worth the next opportunity. And it's just, even if we're not consciously thinking it. It's just kind of what we're about because it's created that cycle. So when it gets to a place of not even being able to give it to myself, it's creating consistency and simplicity in going more towards like just being content and gratitude. Like that is the only way I can manage that, because it starts to cycle back into being able to give myself self affirmation. And then it's insane how it works once I start doing that, because I'm giving off a positive energy. That's usually when the other affirmations come from other people too, because they're noticing something that sparks in them, like, wow, he's just this great person, he's full of this positive energy, and I'm going to tell him or her that. But it starts, in that deep place of, I try to find contentment and gratitude, and that spins it into, a lot of times, the things that I'm grateful for are things that I created, and then I am worth that, or I do deserve this, and oftentimes that comes from really, really deep places of, prayer and petition, so to speak. But I try, it's a weak word, I find gratitude every day. I like to write, but if I don't write it, I put it in my notes. I've got a list every day, and the simplest of things, and that's how I start the day. And that has been something that has really bridged the gap from being in a really dark place every day to at least feeling grateful for the things I have had, which then can translate into, I created those things, I have those things, I'm grateful for those things. It just creates a positive energy around your own psyche, all within your own self and your own process. And so that all came from being aware that this is something that I struggle with, and then work to make sure I wake up early enough to do that. And that's it. That's how, because it won't happen in the place where you're feeling it the worst. So it's like, you got to prepare for that time and have that foundation to fall back on. But that's how I've done it. And I'm certainly no expert in it. That's just coming from just so much, pain of, I have to break out of this, because I do want to feel great about my life and where I'm going and the people that can go there with me.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate your time. It's good to see you, Mary.
Great to see you. I love what you just said. You talk about gratitude. Gratitude is the key that unlocks life. And when we struggle, and you hit it on the head, it's a choice. Like we have a choice. I'm feeling like I'm in a dark place, and then it's using that. I notice that I'm feeling, or I notice that I'm thinking. Okay, so what can I do? And I saw a study, or a guy said, you set a timer for 60 seconds, so 1 minute, and you just write your gratitude, what you're grateful for. And as soon as you do that, you're able to shift. And it's awareness is key within everything that we do. And your support system, the people you surround yourself with, Angie hit that last week too, is that we're the average of that sum. Like, we become who we surround ourselves. And when you look at your life and go, well, who do I want to be? Am I the type of person? What would this type of person do? And you start doing that. But it's little tiny steps.
Oh man, yeah. But it takes a long ways. Gotta take the first one.
Yeah.
First step.
I have someone put in here, always facing fear and going through it for me. Michael Jordan said, why are you going to fear a shot that you haven't taken? And I love that, right?
Yeah, right. You don't even know. You're scared of nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what's your biggest fear?
You know what? It's exactly what we're talking about. It's unraveling myself. I have clouded it within the fear of success or the fear of failure. My biggest fear is me. Mm-hmm. Biggest fear is my mentality towards true success, and that I'm not talking about financially, just like that, having a very comfortable mind and heart and soul. Like I've derailed myself out of that so many different times for whatever reason. It's usually some sort of martyr thing too, like a deserving thing and whatever. And the fear is forgetting about gratitudes or forgetting about everything that I've just said. Like you said, it's so easy to talk to other people about it. But the minute I turn my computer off, what am I still? Me alone in my place. My biggest fear is me. And learning how to attack that so that, it's not, so the negative isn't affirmed, and where I'm feeling like I'm worthy of the things that I want to produce in my life. That is.
So what's the worst thing that can happen? So, there's acronyms of fear is false evidence appearing real. And so your biggest fear is you.
Mm-hmm.
So specifically the biggest fear of failure, fear of not good enough, fear of success.
Yeah, it's fear. Yeah, sure. So it's fear of having to restart again, because I have restarted. I have had everything I could ever want, lost it all. Getting back to a place where that was coming again, lost it all again. That's the fear. Going all the way back to have to start a grind again. In that way, that's probably my greatest fear.
So when you look at that,
Lost.
So what? If
Right.
You lost it all, what's the worst thing that could happen?
I mean, if we're talking about all in a material way, and I still have the people that have surrounded me my whole life, and now my wife and kids, it's not bad. There is no worse. It's just that feeling.
So what's the best thing that can happen?
Oh man, it's limitless. So, I mean, you know Kay and Wyatt. It's limitless with those guys and Mare. I don't even know how to describe the best thing, and that's likely part of the issue is that I don't have a place to go. I don't have like this, like I can do it for a business, but in my life, it's like, what is the best that can happen? And I don't know. I know it's great.
So for those of you who've been through Bold and Forge, we talk about the analogy of running to the roar. And it fits perfectly here. And so the analogy is the way lions hunt. So they hunt in prides. For those of you who do not know, they could have anywhere from 5, 7, 12, 20 lions, and they hunt together. And there's this one pride that as they hunt antelope, they're in the savannas of Africa, every lion has a place. And they usually have like a great grandma lion or grandma lion, and she's diseased, she's crippled, her teeth are falling out, she's literally dying. She's maimed, but she still has this incredible roar. And lions are known for their roar. In fact, they've been tracked for 5 miles in the savannah. That always just blows me away. In fact, I met someone that lived in Africa, and I said, "Is that true?" And they said, "Oh yeah, you can hear them for miles, right?"
Right.
So they have this insane roar, and they're also known for short bursts of speed and crazy strength. They're like 500 pounds of muscle, and they can run a football field, about 35, 40 miles an hour. So it's like, boom, pedal to the metal. So they have a great grandma lion here on one side. The rest of the lions in the pride, they flank the antelope. The antelope are in the middle. And antelope are known for their endurance, right? So they can run fast for a very long time. So the great grandma lion, she lets out this insane roar. What do the antelope do?
Run.
Where?
Towards.
Towards.
Away.
Oh, running away towards the other, right? They don't know the other lions are in the back, but the roar frightens them. It scares them. And the response is fight, flight, freeze. And they run away, and they run right into the pride of the lions that are the strong, the young, and they die. But they actually would, if they ran to the roar, they'd be free. Right. Because grandma can't get them, and the other lions don't have that endurance. And it's just like in life when we have a fear. When that fear is roaring its ugly head, and it's usually false evidence appearing real, if we run to it, if we step into it and they say, not today, we're going to move towards that roar and we're going to take action, all the complacency leaves. That's where our greatest growth is.
Mhm.
And it's just that analogy, man. And Paul, I just love that you're so authentic and so real and so transparent. And I really believe that so many people, they need this message. They need to be reminded, we all feel it.
Yep.
Underneath the hood, we're all the same. We all have the same hopes, fears, dreams, insecurities. But it's addressing it. It's giving voice to it. It's going, I notice that I'm thinking. All right, let me run to the roar. I know who I am today. So your final thoughts. This is your time. What message would you like to get out to the world?
Well, so it's really pretty simple. Through all of it, there's so much depth to what we're talking about because we do share the same thoughts and feelings and emotions a lot, but we're all still so different too, and different wirings, and then different men, women experiences, upbringings, etc. At the end of the day, it's the message that is so powerful to me is so simple, and you just touched on it, is that we all share those very same thoughts and feelings. It's like when you go to a place where you're supposed to do something. So like the DMV, and like, am I supposed to pick the number? Or am I supposed to go to the counter? Or how does this work? And you're like, you got all this anxiety about there's people watching me, and what if I do the wrong thing and I look stupid? And you're just internalizing all this stuff, and everyone in the building has the exact same. Nobody cares, No, it always feels better to do exactly what you just said, to break out of that and just go do it. That's the biggest, most simple way, is eliminate the fear by doing. And that will validate all of the other things, because the only thing that is not validating it is you. And that will destroy, it won't matter. And it just won't matter what's happened before if you don't let it.
So good. Paul, I want to say thank you for getting on, for just sharing, for giving us ideas. Even the gratitude piece is huge, because we all get it, right? Self-doubt, and we get stuck in the muck. What can we do? And then just do that. Run towards the roar. Yeah. Again, I want to just thank everyone who's been on here. Next week, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Remember, it's Bridget Austin, who will be talking about authenticity and balance in this new norm. Thank you for being I say, knowing you for the last 6 years, and the people who know you, who love you, they respect the heck out of you. And Eric and I are the same. We're friends for life. And I'm proud of you, right? The student gets to be the teacher. And that's what I always recognize and realize, that whatever we're teaching, whatever our part is in life, we're